Infernum mod is an add-on for Calamity that adds a new difficulty. This new difficulty is surprisingly not easy. New and experienced players alike will probably struggle to beat Infernum. However, when you have played Infernum for as long as I have, you start to develop strategies which become second nature. These strategies can help greatly ease the difficulty of Infernum and makes it a more fun experience for all. So today, I wish to entertain and educate you by hopefully separating you from your skill issue. Feel free to refer to this video as many times as you want. With all that being said, I present to you 6 tips for Infernum you wish you knew earlier. My first tip for anyone struggling with Infernum is to abuse HP regeneration. HP regeneration is one of the most misunderstood concepts in Terraria. There is a whole page in the wiki talking about how health regen works. However, I feel that even the most nerdiest of Terraria players will prefer staying away from that page, and I don't blame them. You, however, do not need to know everything about HP regen to be able to abuse it. Now, HP regen is affected by many things, such as your accessories, how often you get hit, any buff stations such as heart lanterns and campfires, and the state of the player. For this tactic, the main thing you have to keep in mind is the accessories and the state of the player. The accessory I'm talking about is the shiny stone. Though people view it as an incredible accessory when they first obtain it, it gets quickly discarded as an accessory used mainly for AFK farming. On surface, the extra healing provided by the shiny stone is phenomenal. However, the fact that you have to stand still for it to activate is the main thing that discourages people from using it. There is still a secret use for this accessory that makes it one of the most useful in the game, and that is to have it in the vanity slot and equip it while a boss is in the middle of a phase change or anything of that like, where you can afford to stand still. Let's have a look at this example. Imagine you are fighting Providence and you get damaged in the first phase. You can see that if we grapple onto the wall and stand still for the most part, we can heal from 230 to 974 HP. In here, if you instead just use the healing potion, you would have 480 HP. This tactic single-handedly gave you 494 HP that you usually should not have gotten. If you paid close attention to the footage, you may have realized the influence of the Absorber and the Ambrosial Ampoule, both of which are incredibly good accessories to use in conjunction with the shiny stone. This isn't even close to being the only use case for this tactic. Other notable bosses in which you can heal tons of HP from this strat is the Yaron phase transition, Exomex, especially during the phase change of Artemis and Apollo, almost every phase change during Supreme Calamitous, and so many others. You should experiment with this strategy on your own terms and see which bosses you gain the most benefit from this strategy. My second tip is just don't die. We all know that if we are skill issued, we will die. But you know what's better? Just saying no. There are some accessories that let us do just that. They are called revive accessories. When thinking of revive accessories, there are 2 that immediately come to mind: the Permafrost Concoction for post Cryogen and the Nebulous Core for post Devourer of Gods. You may not be asking, if these accessories quite literally save you from death, then why don't people not have them equipped at all times? The simple answer to this question is that as long as you're not at the verge of death or after the accessory has been used up, you're essentially playing with one less accessory slot. There is, however, a very simple way to completely evade this problem. The best way to use them is to have them in the vanity slot and quickly equip them whenever you get low and unequip them whenever they have met their purposes. A 3-minute cooldown might seem like a really long time. However, with the length of bosses post Moon Lord, you will probably get 2 if not 3 uses of revives every fight. Doing this can literally save your life multiple times in a single fight. Also, for you summoner or mage players, the revive accessories have some weird interactions with silver armor, so make sure to watch out for that when using these accessories. My third tip is a bit controversial in the community, but I firmly believe that wings are better than speed boots. Once you beat Moonlord, you have a huge dilemma on what your primary mobility should be. That is because, for almost every major point in progression, you have to pick between speed boots and normal wings. A lot of people look at the increased movement speed from the speed boots and how well it just flows into progression and picks them over the wings. I, however, believe this to be a mistake and find that for almost every major point in progression, the wings are objectively better than the speed boots. I can explain why, but let us look at an example to make things simpler. On the left side, we have the Celestial Tracers, and on the right, we have the Elysian Wings. It is instantly obvious that the Elysian Wings have better flight stats in every department, with the flight time and flight speed being the most noticeable ones. The Celestial Tracers, on the other hand, greatly enhances your movement speed on land. This makes it feel as if it's an even battle. However, in practice, you spend a lot more time flying than you do walking, especially against bosses in this stage of progression. With the Elysian Wings, as long as you're in air, you will have the same speed as the Celestial Tracers. To add insult to injury, with enough skills with hooks, you can further increase your speed to the point where the speed increase from the Celestial Tracers is not even noticeable. This same argument can be used to explain how Lunar Wings are better than the Celestial Tracers and how Silver Wings are better than the Elysian Tracers. The only exception to this rule is the Seraph Tracers, which do not have any other wings in their tiers except Drew's Wings, which is a direct downgrade and an upgrade component of the Seraph Tracers. With all this being said, it is instantly obvious why wings are better than speed boots for almost every major point in progression.
My fourth tip is a bit specific, but I'm sure it will not disappoint. My tip is to kill Calamity's clone in hell at some point in progression. Infernum adds these things called dev wishes. They are sorts of achievements which you get rewarded for completing. One of the most useful rewards from dev wishes is the Brimstone Crescent Staff. This item is given to you after defeating Calamity's clone in hell. When used, the Brimstone Crescent Staff summons a force field around the player that reduces damage taken by 60% for 3 hits, while decreasing damage dealt by the player by 60%. This effect may seem pointless as the extra survivability is completely offset by the loss in damage. The only instance in which this might have been useful is if there were any point in Infernum where damage does not matter. Only survivability does. Luckily for us, Infernum does just that with the introduction of desperation phases. During a desperation phase, your only goal is to survive for a set amount of time before the boss dies. Notable examples of difficult desperation phases can be found in Supreme Calamitous and Poltergeist, 2 of the hardest bosses in Infernum. The ability to cheese every desperation phase in the game is huge and makes some of the hardest fights in the game infinitely easier.
My penultimate tip for Infernum is to build better arenas. If you have been struggling with a boss for a really long time, if it seems that your skill has plateaued 9 out of 10 times, the problem is your arena. I recommend crafting the Drill Containment Unit the moment you make it into Post Moonlord to help you clear a larger space to create larger arenas. Bosses like Devourer of Gods, Exomex, and Poltergeist heavily benefit from a large arena. Even if improving your arena does not seem like a big change sometimes, you're not doing it for its effectiveness. Improving your arena can help improve your mindset and make you feel less constrained. It makes you feel more free so that you're inclined to experiment more. If you have not experienced this feeling before, you will not understand what I'm saying, but trust me, making a better arena almost always improves your chances with any fight. If you're fighting a boss such as Supreme Calamitous or Providence, where the arena is not changeable, I have nothing to say other than get good. Even though I have given you many tips to get better at Infernum, there is one point that still stands strong. I believe this to be not only the greatest tip for Infernum, but also for every Souls-like game in general, and that is to not push yourself too hard. Even with all these tips, Infernum mod is not and will not be easy, especially on your first playthrough. You will find yourself struggling for hours, days, or potentially even weeks with certain bosses. This happens to everyone, and you're not a bad player for something everyone experiences. Sometimes you might find yourself breezing through bosses that a community deemed challenging while struggling against the simplest of foes. It is in these times that you should remind yourself to not be too harsh with yourself. At the end of the day, no matter how difficult, Terraria is still a video game. And what is the point of playing a video game if you're not having fun? As such, my greatest advice is to take breaks when necessary and enjoy your playthroughs while they last. This piece of advice is, however, not only for Infernum, it is for every single game that has even an ounce of difficulty. Winning is not your goal in playing video games, entertainment is, so make sure to keep that in mind before playing video games with high skill ceilings such as Infernum. I hope you found this video informative or at least entertaining. Even with everything I've said, keep in mind that just because these tips work for me does not mean it will work for you. All of the tips I've shown you helped me a lot in my first playthroughs of Infernum, and I hope they will help you too. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing, as I would really appreciate that. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Goodbye.